Welcome to part 3 of the video series on This Space is Yours. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I encourage you to go back. They give you context to this one. So in the end of part 2, I told you all that there would be a special guest. She is an amazing woman. She has been working in the field of higher education for a long time. So she is not only experienced, but she is highly educated, highly inspirational, and I really look up to her. So let me give you all her intro. So Dr. Angela Duncan has been an educator for over 18 years and has a passion for college and career readiness. She has served in various roles within higher education and student affairs and now serves as a college liaison between a community college and an early college high school. She considers this the sweet spot between working in higher education and secondary education. Dr. Duncan has been fortunate to work, learn, and serve alongside other Black women since pursuing her bachelor's degree. These connections allowed her to see others like her in leadership positions and know that she could do the same. Dr. Duncan plans to continue her work within college and career readiness so that all students and families can be confident they have tools needed to make informed decisions about their future. Another sweet thing about Dr. Duncan is that we served together in Botswana in the Peace Corps. That is actually how I met her. She was truly inspirational then, and she's truly inspirational now. So what you all are about to see in the next clip is just the interview that we both did, going back and forth, talking about the barriers that she faced in higher education, what her role was, and then she gives some amazing tips towards the end, just about what advice would you give for anyone that's pursuing higher education or that may face barriers specifically as Black women. So I hope that you enjoy. I had a great time watching it, and thank you again, Dr. Duncan, for taking your time to sit and talk to me through our crazy technological difficulties and to give great advice. So enjoy, y'all. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Go ahead.
You fancy. Okay, so what is your current position in higher education?
So my current position in higher education is as a college liaison. So I basically am the bridge between a community college and an early college high school. And just in case you don't know what an early college high school is, essentially my students are both high school students, 9th through 12th graders, and also community college students at the same time. And the ultimate goal is for them to earn their high school diploma and a 2-year associate's degree at the same time. Some of them don't necessarily get the associate's degree, but they'll either have transferable credit hours if they want to transfer to another institution, or they may have an industry certification.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Duncan. Yes. So can you tell me, have you served in any other role? I mean, when I met you, we were both, this is for anyone that's watching this. Dr. Duncan and I, we served in the Peace Corps together. 2018 to 2020, we were evacuated because of COVID. But even prior to that, she was working in a different position. And even in Botswana, her background helped her so much engaging with different youth. So do you want to talk about the different roles that you've held?
Sure. And I've been serving in higher ed and in education in general since 2003. So coming up on year number 19, which is crazy to think about. But in addition to kind of doing the work that I'm doing now, I've also done undergraduate admissions, residence life, academic advising. I was the director of a student one-stop, which basically is combining the services of admissions, financial aid, registrar, and student accounts. I think that's all on the higher ed side. And then I've also worked on the secondary side. So in high schools, again, similar to what I'm doing right now, but it was solely on the secondary side, doing college and career advocacy. So I've done a lot.
Yes, you have. Look, I'm not gonna lie. Your accolades, I'll say initially, just because I don't see a lot of Black women in higher education. Like, just pursuing this project is the first time that I found like affinity groups on Facebook. But just even if you go to any institution, you're not going to see like, oh, there's a sister there, there's a sister there. And if they are, unfortunately, but fortunately, they may be in like areas that are like multicultural studies or the diversity areas. I feel like society has limited us, even for our knowledge, even though, as you can see, you help in like 18 different areas. So thank you for your service. Now, my passion project, we talked prior to this video about how this is really my journey of finding peace and healing and comfort and confidence in engaging in this field. So it's really an honor to be able to talk to you because you're working in it. You've been here for, you said, 9 years. And you probably were teaching before that as well, or having some kind of influence with educating other people. So can I ask you, as a Black woman, have there been any challenges that you face? And it's, of course, you can talk about as a woman, but I feel like your experience being Black and also a woman is different than someone else's may be. So if you feel comfortable sharing any story or a situation that you've encountered over the years.
Right. So it's definitely a difference in being a Black woman in higher education, because even though when you're looking at Black people in general, Black women tend to outperform Black men. So if you think about it, there has been kind of more research done and more, workshops, all of that on African American men in college, and kind of not necessarily bypassing us, but not as much attention because when you look at the numbers, we're performing and we're succeeding at a better rate than African American men do. But for me, that doesn't mean that you get to ignore me or act like, there aren't different things that come with being a Black woman in higher education in spaces that weren't created for any of us. But just because I appear to be performing at a higher level, please figure out why I'm achieving at a higher level. But something that kind of immediately comes to mind when thinking about, some of the challenges that I faced as a Black woman working in education, has been kind of in my most recent position because I'm currently in a rural area, so 15,000 people, working at a community college that is about 1,100 students, over half of which, so roughly about 60%, are actually early college students. So if you think about that, most of the population of the community college is actually like 14 to 17-year-olds, as opposed to 18 to 24 or 18 and up. But you would think most of them would be traditional students, but that's not true for the area that I'm in. The area I'm in is also the school district I work in is also very white. So coming in as a Black woman with a doctorate degree, let's not forget that. So
Yes,
as a highly
ma'am.
educated Black.
Yes.
And also I'm not from this area, and also having two other administrators at the high school that, I'm the liaison for. There's a Black man and there's another Black woman. So you have three Black people in this very white school district who are now running a school. Just let that sit for a minute. And you can imagine, like, when we come in, we're all on one accord because we have a vision for where the school can really go. And not to say that it's, terrible, because this is year number 4. So getting it set up, got students, great. But now how can we improve on the foundation to make the school even better, to make the early college even better, and to make sure that we are serving our students at the highest capacity. So being able to come in with my background, and kind of navigate the whole, oh, well, it's not because you're Black, it's because you're changing a lot of things. And it's like, well, some of it is probably because you have 3 Black people now telling these parents and students what you can and can't do. And that's not what they were used to. So kind of navigating that. I've been fortunate, though, and this kind of leads into kind of talking about my resiliency. I've been working in this field. I've been fortunate to be able to connect with, learn beside, and kind of meet a lot of Black women within higher education since I was in undergrad. And that's been a while too. this year, oh my goodness, in December it'll be 20 years since I graduated from undergrad.
Oh, you queen.
So
I'm trying to get like you. Hey.
um, so just thinking back to my undergrad days, there were some black women there, and as you mentioned, the black women I'm thinking of were in multicultural affairs, but hey, it works, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then when I went on to grad school the first time, so getting my master's degree, I got involved in one of the main higher ed and student affairs organizations, so NASPA. So being able to go to NASPA and they have an African American Women's Summit. So being in that space, even though it was like a 1 day pre-conference session, being in a room only with black women all day long, knowing that you have everybody from new professionals on up to college presidents, and then at the end of the day, for like the last 60 to 90 minutes, they open up the partition, and then you're seeing a room full of black men who have been doing the same thing we've been doing all day long, and you're like, wait a minute, like we in here and we doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to watch and not only watch them kind of from afar, but being able to interact and ask those questions and being in a space where you're like, even though your experience may not be exactly like mine, but I know if I talk to you, you'll understand and you're not going to judge me for it. Um, and it going beyond just that 1 day, and being able to connect with them year after year. So being in those spaces and being able to do that has let me know that, hey, yes, I may be a new professional right now. I may be a mid-level professional, but somewhere there's a college president that looks like me, and I can be her too. And if we're talking about right now in all the black girl magic, if you're looking at vice president of the United States, Miss Kamala Harris, I mean, let's just do this. It
I
doesn't
love
mean it's
that.
gonna be easy, but
No,
it shows us where we can go.
absolutely. Ooh, 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 ooh. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my gosh. And thank you for, I mean, I can't imagine, and you were just talking about in your current position, a barrier that you were facing. So I can't imagine of all your years, even when you were still in school, of everything that you faced, and yet you're still here and dedicated to the field that you're being in. Thank you for that. So, I mean, you kind of touched on this already, but one of the things that I'm learning through this course that I'm in is just how individuals develop what's called like a psychological capital. And one thing that I'm really focusing on is the aspect of resilience. Resilience, the ability to be able to bounce back. So, for you, how through all of this, everything that you faced, all of the transitions that you've had, how can you remain resilient? Or do you have any advice for anyone else who could be struggling with what you were struggling through or may struggle with what you were struggling through? What do you have for us, Dr. Duncan?
I'd say the main thing is to make sure that you know your why and to always come back to that. Because if you're just jumping into the field of education or really jumping into anything and you don't have kind of a deep rooted reason why you're doing it, then when you face different challenges and things, then you can easily be swayed to be like, y'all know what? This is not it, and I'm not staying. I
Mm,
got to try something else. But because I know that education is one of my core values, and especially now, kind of college and career readiness, and making sure that students have the opportunity and the access to someone who can help them through the process. Then, even on those days where I'm like, can I get away from students and parents? Like, please just let me get away.
mm,
I'm still gonna come back. Or if there's, a student that I'm gonna have to meet with, and I feel like every time I meet with that, you have those students that you're like, every time I meet with you, it's a whole bunch of drama. Inevitably, there's another student that I meet with either earlier in the day or after that that then reminds me again, like, this is why you're doing this work, and this is why you need to keep doing the work. So I think it's just not jumping into anything just to be doing it, but to kind of sit down with yourself and and what's the word? Kind of sit down with yourself and and come up with your reason why,
Yeah.
essentially. For example, like I just kind of explained kind of my passion for college and career readiness. But for me, going back to get my doctorate degree, it was kind of about me, but not really.
Mm.
Because who wants to go through that? I mean, some people have fun going through their doctoral programs, and mine wasn't the hardest. Meaning like the coursework, it was challenging, but it wasn't necessarily overwhelming until I got to the dissertation stage. But really, for me, it was about making sure that if I applied for a position, one thing they could not say was that I needed to go back and get a terminal degree.
Mm.
Like, you're not gonna throw that one at me. You might
Mm.
try to say, yes, you need some more training in this particular area. Okay, I got you. No big deal. But if it's about, oh, well, you need to get another terminal degree, or you need to get a terminal degree. It's on my wall right here. What you need? My official transcript? What you need? Because I got that. We done with that. So just making sure that any move that you make, like I said, that you know your why, and that will allow you to stick with it even when hard things come. Because hard things are going to come in life. You know, it happens. But if you know your why,
Mm.
then that will help you kind of push through um, that. And then I'd also say making sure that you have your people around you that you can go
Mm.
to. Because I think if you, and even if it's just one person, that you can just kind of be like, hey, I just need you to listen. I may not even need you to respond. Like, I just need to get all of this out. And then you just kind of pat me on the back and be like, all right, girl, you got it. All right, Simone, you good? Okay, we'll talk later.
Mm. Amen. I love that. Dr. Duncan, you are the queen. You are the queen. I'm inspired by your words. Know your yes. Have a circle of support. Keep going.
Mhm.
You are an encouragement, and thank you for taking time out of your day, especially last minute. My bad. For to even do this interview with me. So I hope that whoever's watching, that you are inspired and encouraged by the wise words of Dr. Duncan. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, leave a comment. I have contact with Dr. Duncan. I'm pretty terrible with communication, but she's the best. So I will reach out to her. But yeah, thank you so much. And I'm going to talk to you on WhatsApp.
All
No.
right.
All right.
And
That'll be the end of the video, but not for real. Thank you. Thank you.
you
For real.
and for you, just if
All right, y'all. So I hope that you enjoyed that interview as much as I did. I apologize about the low audio. Hopefully, the captions were able to pick up on some of her words. Now, one thing that I want you all to just remember from what Dr. Duncan said is anytime you face a trial or anytime um, your resiliency may be pushed, you have to know what your why is. What is your motivation for pursuing higher education? What is your motivation for entering into whatever field you choose to enter in? One book that I've been reading in class, it's about psychological capital. And one of the most important things that resonates with me is the theory of being resilient or having resilience. And this book really attests to what Dr. Duncan said about the role of values in resilience. So on page 151, here's the book right here, Psychological Capital and Beyond, written by Fred Luthens, Carolyn Youssef Morgan, and Bruce Avolio. I apologize if I butcher the names. But it says, values and beliefs help individuals in elevating themselves over difficult and overwhelming present events, linking them to a more pleasant future to which they can look forward to. So it's essentially important to have what these underlying values are, or these systems are, because that'll guide and shape and help us through whatever we go. So I hope to see you in part 4, which is the conclusion of my miniature video series on This Space is Yours. Thank you. Hope to see you next time.